time in segregation. Throughout my life, I've done multiple different sentences in the state and in the feds. So I'm gonna rewind the tape and take it way back to my juvenile days, from the first time I got incarcerated. Alright? So the first time I got arrested, I was 13 years old. And I was selling weed at the mall. I had a bunch of baggies, necklace, diamonds. I had about, I say, a quarter pound or so bagged up in puro guatos. And I was at the mall by myself, homie. I had a pager. Back in the days, the pagers were still booming. I didn't have a cell phone, so if you needed anything, you just paged me. At the mall, I was doing my normal rounds like I usually did, you know. Every Saturday, I'd hit the mall, and I'd look for new customers. I'd be scouting the mall, you know, looking for them different clientes. As far back as I can remember, I was always a hustler, you know. Started way back in elementary when I used to buy a bunch of Snickers, Reese's, and different kind of candies like that with food stamps, and take them down to the elementary and sell them for straight cash. You know, I'd be selling them for like 2 for $1 or something like that if I liked them. If I didn't like you, I'd be banging them $1 a piece. You know, if I liked, I always liked girls, you know, since way back. So the girls, you know, I'd be giving them candies for kisses and whatnot. But anyways, back to the juvie thing. So I'm 13 years old in the city of Laredo, Texas, in Mall del Norte. And I'm serving, you know, I'm selling that to people, necklace and diamonds. And I'm doing my thing, homie. So what ends up happening is I run into my boy Tony. And Tone was actually a really good friend of mine from way back in the Nixon days. Way back in the old neighborhood in my original block, you know, out there on the east side of Nixon. So I run into Tone. He's there with another homeboy, JJ. JJ ends up becoming a good friend of mine later on down the road. But I run into them, and you know, they buy a couple of sacks. I tell them I'm serving, you know, and we start mobbing the mall together. You know, we chopping it up, we're winding the tape, me and Tone talking, kicking it. You know, I don't really know this dude JJ. We just kicking it. I'm just barely getting to know this cat. We make our way outside of the mall in the parking lot. And we run into a group of dudes, man. These dudes obviously a little older than us, you know. Probably like 16, 17, somewhere around there. You know, we young bucks, 12, 13 and shit. Or 13, yeah. So anyways, we run into these dudes kind of like directly, in the same direction. And one of them guys tells JJ, he goes, "Hey, wasn't you that dude that was talking all that shit last week with your friends, homie? What's up now, partner?" He's like, "Nah, bro, I ain't want no problems with you. I don't want no smoke." He's like, "Nah, fuck that." So he takes off his shirt and hands it to his homie. He's like, "What's up, bro?" And he runs up on JJ and pieces him with a 2-piece, pop, pop, and drops him, boom. JJ gets up, he's like, "Hey, fuck that, what's up, man, woo, woo, woo." And so he back, and shit, it ain't my beef, so I ain't got nothing to do with this shit, you know what I mean? Tone didn't jump in, so I was like, fuck it, I ain't finna do shit either. Boom, 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 they start throwing down. It's a one-on-one, nobody jumped or none of that shit. But the dude, the older dude, his name was Junior Contreras. So I end up meeting him later on down the road too. I guess somebody alerted the security. Security rolls up quickly. By this time, the group of dudes had already made their way out of the mall. And it's just like me, Tone, and JJ. So they pull up on all of us, boom, boom. I try to throw the weed under a core. I guess one of them saw me. They're like putting us up against the squad unit. And they're patting everybody down. They patting them, and they're like, "Hey, what's this shit?" And I end up being the only one that gets arrested, homie. So I'm the only one getting arrested, man. I'm 13 years old, you know what I'm saying? The shit wasn't even my beef, homie. You know, it had nothing to do with me. I was just at the wrong place at the wrong time, homie. So I ended up getting arrested. And my first time in juvie, you know, possession and intent to distribute narcotics is what they labeled it, which is marijuana, you know what I'm saying? I'm serving that weed. So I'm in juvenile, I'm there about 2 days. My mom comes and gets me out, you know, and I have to end up doing a probation bid. I end up doing a probation bid and, you know, for a few months and wasn't shit. But that was my introduction to my first time incarcerated. So it wasn't the last time. And I would have multiple arrests in the juvenile, in Webb County Juvenile Detention Center. It used to be off of Chicago Street, right there off of San Bernardo. That was the old juvenile. That's where I did all my time as a juvie, right there in that facility. Now they got a new big one over there, you know what I'm saying, on the south side, way south on 359. In juvie, it works like this in those days. If the sergeants wake everybody up at 5 o'clock, if your bed and your room ain't spotless and clean, they lock you down. So you end up having to stay there all freaking day. And while everybody else is going to play rec and going to the NPR, the multi-purpose room, watching TV and kicking it, you and your cellie by yourself. This is a one-man cell. So I'm in there in my one-man cell on several different occasions, locked down for like a week or whatever. Then they had like 2 separate cells that was like considered segregation right by the control center, you know, and that's where I would spend a lot of my time. So fast forward the tape, many years later, several years later, I'm doing about 2 months in segregation, you know. They got me locked down on there on suicide alert, you know what I mean? I guess I got in there all fucked up and said I was going to kill myself and whatnot. You know, so I'm in juvenile, they got me on lockdown. They just observing me in there, and I'm on lockdown for like 2 months, homie. Just waiting and shit. And I had an assault charge that I was fighting in the courts, and I guess my PO didn't want to let me go at that time. But right next to me, they ended up putting another homeboy, which was the dude that had fought the JJ dude at the mall. So they put him right next to me, and man, he cool as a fan. We start chopping it up. We start doing freestyle nights, chopping it up, you know, like doing our thing. Specific incident where they had basically they had set off the riot in Juvenile. This was like a historical event that had happened in Webb County Juvenile. So what had happened in this juvenile center is they had broke off the sprinklers from the cell. Every cell had like a sprinkler thing. So you would throw a plate at it and it was bust and all the water would start running off of there. The alarm would go off. All the doors automatically open. The sirens go off. So what had happened is, you know, there's 5 tanks in the juvenile center. So all the tanks opened up and all the gangs just started going at it, bro. Straight squabbling, boom, 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 boom. You know, my cell popped open. I try to rush out there, do my thing. The COs grabbed me real quick, boom. They grabbed the homie Junior too, grabbed them up real quick. We was about the only ones that couldn't make it to the wreck on that riot. So when this riot popped off, you know, there's only 2 COs. It happened like at 1 in the morning. So there was only literally 2 COs. So the fights went on for like a good 30 minutes. They had to call LPD, Laredo Police Department. They showed up and they started rushing the juvenile, you know, pepper spraying, tasing motherfuckers. You know what I mean? It went down. And me and the homie Junior banging on the doors like, oh, fuck, man. Because his people was out there. My people was out there. It was like, man, fuck this shit. Woo, woo. So we wilding out in juvie, man. We doing our thing. And so they later on, shit quiets down. They come into my cell, into Junior, into everyone's cells from what we heard. They come into our cells and they strip us butt naked with nothing on. No blanket, no nothing, just a mattress. So it's fucking ice cold and they got us in there like that for like 2 days, ass naked, bro. and none but our boxers, you know, and the mattress. That's it. So it gets freezing cold. It's like 60 degrees in there, man. If not colder, probably 55 or something. So we in there and we tear the mattresses open and get inside the mattress, man. Like, I did that shit first and told Junior. He ripped his shit open and got in too. So, you know what I'm saying? That's how we had to stay warm. You know, and while you're in juvenile, while you're in segregation, it's like time goes by so slow, man. And you want to do anything you can to get your mind off of the fact that you're in a box and you can't get out. So what I would like to do a lot of the times is do push-ups, you know, do freestyles with Junior next door, and just write on the walls, write on the floor, you know, read books. It's pretty much that's all you can do when you're locked down and segregated. So fast forward the tape, I end up going to TYC. In TYC, it's the youth prison for all of Texas, you know, like I had touched on other videos. The homie Junior had made it to TYC too, but we was in different state schools. So by that time, we weren't even communicating no more. You know, we went our separate ways. He went and did his time. I went and did my time. So I'm in TYC doing my thing, bro, running the programs. You know, they got the phase 4 system, phase 1, 2, 3, and 4. You know what I mean? So I'm trying to do that thing. But I end up getting in a squabble with a cat, you know? And then I end up getting in a squabble with a CO. Me and a CO threw down. And they leave me in segregation for several months, man. So I'm locked down. It's a one-man cell. You know, I'm locked down there. And, you know, throughout the few months that I was there, I met several different cats. You know, and that's how you pass your time, is talking to your neighbors. You know, you talk to your neighbors, you shoot the line, you know, to communicate. You pass kites or whatever, pass contraband. But there was a specific instant where, like, segregation starts getting overpopulated. So they start double bunking people in a cell. And, you know, me and the homie De La Rosa from, his name was George De La Rosa out there in Victoria, Texas. He was a Queen City Cholo from out there. It was a real good friend of mine, man. Shout out to George, man. We chopped it up and did all kinds of shit over there in that TYC. But we already had it like set up to where no matter who they put in our cell, we was throwing down with their ass. If it was one of our homies, we just do a friendly fade. But if it was anybody else, they getting straight mashed on and getting their plate taken. So that's what we did, man. I must have smashed about 4 different cats. There was another homeboy from the hometown, El Apache from Siete Viejo, and he actually was the one that did my first tattoo. And he actually did this hometown La Casa right here. You know, he did that Laredo tattoo right there, and that LK, the Land King, you know. I was 17 years old, and that was my first tattoo, homie. Land King, Laredo, 956 in the back. You know, representing. So ever since I was a young buck, I've been representing the hometown. I've been representing the nation. You know, been representing the streets and been doing my thing, homie. Segregation, probably the worst time you're gonna do. It's like basically a prison inside a prison, you know, a jail inside of a jail. You lock down from the population and you just by yourself. You might have a cellmate, you might not. You know what I mean? But from my experience in segregation, anytime you have a cellie, you're going to end up getting in a fight with them. You know, unless y'all like really tight, you know, and from the same affiliation or just from the same neighborhood. If y'all tight and y'all cool, then you probably can get away from squabbling with each other. But other than that, y'all finna throw down, man. Somebody's finna get their shit taken, bro. And you know, fast forward to tape, to my adult years, I did time in the CCA. In the CCA, things were a lot different over there. The CCA Laredo is over there by Rio Bravo on the south side. So what the CCA is It's a detention center for anybody pending federal charges. So if you got federal charges pending, that's where they will house you at that time. Now they got the geo. I heard now that's where they're throwing everybody at. But back in those days, it was CCA or geo. It could go either way. So you got federal charges. That's where they hold you until your case is over, until you've been sentenced or dismissed, whatever the case is. So while I'm in the CCA, I got into a bunch of different bullshit with different guys. Ended up getting permanently locked down in segregation. I did about a year. But in there, it was the same thing. The CCA segregation, the way I did my time there was a lot smoother. I did commissary, so I'd have commissary. I'd be stacked up. We do platones every night and slide the linea. We had a cool CO. The CO would pass the meals that we made. We'd do like a spread, which is the soup, the noodles, the beans, the chips, whatever, it meats in there, you know. And we just put it all together and blow it up, and everybody gets a piece. You know, but while we're in segregation, homie, you know, it's like I'd say about an 8-man tank, right, or a 10-man tank, and they turn it into a freaking a segregation because they got the locked doors, and it's all single people. You don't have 2 people in a cell in segregation in the CCA. It's just one dude, and that's it. So the whole time that I was there, it was smooth, it was chill, homie. Because it was just me by myself, but I got to kick it with people like Bernie Sandoval, Calladito Cordless, known in Siete Viejo. So we in there chopping it up, some other people in there, you know, Barney, Miguel. We got like, basically anybody else was just coming in and out and leaving. But those names I threw out there, they would stay there like permanently through the CCA because they had severe charges and couldn't be put in general population due to the fact that they had a high profile case. So I'm in here with straight killers, homie. These homeboys right here, you know what I mean, they got serious charges. They ended up getting life sentences. And so I'm kicking it in there with them. We chopping it up every day, man. Laughing, straight cagando el palo, homie. You know what I mean? That to pass the time, we bullshitting, telling stories. You know what I mean? Just telling jokes. Anything and everything get talked about, you know. So we in there straight kicking it, man. And then I got my little radio in the mornings, coffee time. We even do rutina together. We start doing burpees, push-ups, like everybody in the cell count off and shit. And you do your little thing, homie. So it was chill, you know. I got my 2 mattresses stacked up. I got pillows, 2 blankets. I'm good, homie. They do talacha every day they bring it. So I got bleach, I got chemicals. I'm cleaning my shit. I got my toilet, my sink, my mirror. Man, it's like the Hiltons to me. I'm kicking it, bro. You know what I'm saying? I got stacks of books, magazines. I'm chilling, man. And we doing our thing. There's a shower there, and they even had a TV in the day area that the whole circle can see through their window. So, you know what I mean? We would get to watch movies all day long. At night, they would turn it off. We go to bed, whatever. But we even got TV that we get to see through the window. So we straight, man. My time in segregation and the CCA was straight. But even with all that, we would still fucking end up getting like, you know, into bullshit with the COs. You know, COs be playing games sometimes in there, bullshitting. You know what I mean? Crossing the line. So we end up fucking, you know, banging on the doors, flooding the cells. And this specific one, time, they're passing out the trays. And this one CO, he straight skipped me and passes me and didn't want to give me my tray. I was like, man, what the fuck? What's up with my tray, bitch? He's like, nah, you ain't getting your tray until I'm going to tell the other shift to put it. You know what I mean? Because I guess he had an issue with me. He didn't like something I had did or something. You know, having a bad day, want to take it out on me, wasn't having it. So my little slot's open and I'm like, nah, fuck that. I ain't pulling my hand out. He tries to lock it. I'm like, nah, fuck that. You ain't locking this door until you give me my plate. So he's in there. He's like, all right. He goes and gets other COs, and I'm like, man, give me my fucking plate. He's like, nah, he already ate. He refused his plate or whatever. So they end up giving me my plate, whatever, with my chin. But I was fucking pissed. So I said, the next time this bitch come in here, you know, I'm gonna raise hell. That's exactly what I did. The next time it was his turn to work segregation. I flooded the cell. I started banging on shit. The Ninja Turtles came. The SWAT team. with their helmets, their shields, the cameras. So they come in there and they pepper spray me. They beat me down. They take me to medical. You know, from medical they take me over to a whole nother area of the CCA that was abandoned, like an abandoned tank. And I'm in there in a locked cell by myself. Then before I know it, Bernie shows up. And now it's just me and Bernie in there. I guess Bernie had did some bullshit too, and they fucked his ass up. So we in there kicking it. We doing our thing, homie. And one day out of nowhere, bro, I fucking have this crazy dream, right? And I wake up and I'm like, damn, Bernie, what time is it? He's like, oh, and I'm looking at him through the window and shit. He's like, woo, woo. I just feel like real funny, man, like fuzzy and shit. So things kind of blur out, and I open my eyes, and I'm in my bed laying down. So I wake up and I'm like, damn, what the fuck? So I go over to Bernie and shit to the window, and I'm like, what the fuck? I was like, hey Bernie, did I just holler at you? He's like, nah, you've been asleep, man. I was like, what the fuck? So it was like deja vu, like that had literally just happened to me. And then, you know what I mean? I wake up and I'm seeing Bernie all over again. He's like, nah, bro. So it was some kind of weird shit that went down with that deja vu shit. But segregation in that cell, they got like cord phones outside in the day area where you get to use the phone and shit. So I would call my baby mama, my family. I'd be on the telly, you know, hollering at my peoples and shit. But it was crazy, homie, because Bernie was actually one of the ones that I ran into in a federal prison in Arkansas in the medium joint. So later on, you know, I went and you know, everybody gets transferred and shipped in different times. I never ran into Calladito or Corliss or Miguel or Barney. You know, I don't know what happened to these guys, but I'm pretty sure they're still in the feds, you know. Bernie was actually one of the only ones that did get released from the feds. We was doing time in Arkansas. You know, in Forest City we did our time. So we locked down in the medium joint, and right before the riot had popped off, I got released. So I wasn't there present when they airlifted the St. Louis cats, you know, because the Texas Mexican Corps had went to war with the St. Louis cats. And the Texas cats pulled out bangers, started stabbing the St. Louis cats up. They had to airlift some cats out of there. I would find out through letters, you know what I mean? Like, hey, man, you barely missed the fucking rieta, bro. So when I get home, you know what I mean, some time later, Bernie gets released. And I find out through somebody else that he had actually got killed in San Antonio. Rest in peace, Bernardo Sandoval. And I'll have a video about the homie Bernie later on, man. But yeah, segregation is it just depends where you're getting segged down at. You know, I've had better times in segregation and I've had worse times. You know, like I'd say the worst segregation I ever went through was in Juvenile. That fucking segregation was fucking hell, bro. But in the CCA, it was actually better than being in population. You know what I mean? But it just all depends. I just wanted to throw that story of I know it was kind of like scattered out a little bit. Just wanted to touch down and say a few words on the video, man. But yeah, man, throughout my life, I've done about close to a 10-year sentence, you know. Like 5 years in the feds and 2 different bids, 2.5 years in TYC, and then a bunch of other months accumulated to about a year or so in juvenile and county jails and shit. So, you know, I've never done more than 3 years straight locked up. But I've seen enough through my time incarcerated to see what it's about. You know, and when I left USP Florence, the brother Pee Wee from the Shy from Humboldt Park, he said, man, I better never catch you in here again, brother. Because he actually got a 60+ year sentence, you know what I mean, in the feds. And, you know, he's pretty much done in there, bro. Like, I don't see him coming out anytime soon unless a miracle by God comes down. But, you know what I mean, with me getting released and whatnot, yeah, it's just something that even myself, if I was in the joint and I see a young buck coming in, you know, that's about to get released that I fuck with and I put under my wing and I got a life sentence and shit, I don't want to see them coming back in there, man. You know, so what I do these days is I just avoid crime at all costs. You know what I mean? Because I ain't trying to wind up getting my freedom taken, you know, and doing more time. I've done enough time to where you know what I mean? Ain't no need to go back and do any of that bullshit over again, homie. But if you out here in these streets and you still banging, you still living that life, homie, reconsider. You know, at least slow it down a little bit, man. You know. There's only one life to live, homie. You better off being out here than in there. On my worst day out here, it's way better than my best day in there. You know, I wouldn't sacrifice my freedom. It's nothing but love and respect to all my raza, all my hometown team, all the Texas car. Shit, no bakora, homie. All that said, brother, I'm outie, man. I'm gonna holler at y'all on the next series. I'm out.